So as we are leapfrogging into July, it's time to take a few minutes to look back at my Gwynnie Bee for June, and not quite as much rotation as I had in May this time around. And you'll notice that I seem to draw the black and white card for a lot of outfits this time, which is kind of par for the course with me and Gwynnie Bee, since I'm not super specific about what's on the rack for me. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are really competing for the colorful clothing right now this time of year, so I just kind of, luck of the draw, I tend to get a lot of the black and white items, but that's okay since I'm mostly getting them for work anyway, so it works just fine for my office environment. Let's take a look at what I tried for June, and let me know if you've tried any of these and if you like them or if you're thinking about giving them a shot. And we will see you again in July for the next round. Enjoy.
The Cold Shoulder Dress in Sandstone by Allison Yu in a size 20.
So as is common with a lot of the house brand items, this dress is really too large for the size that it projects itself as being. As you can see, the sleeves are way past where my arms actually are. I'd have to do that a lot in order to get this to even work, and it's huge. Yeah, I really was hoping for a cute dress, and this is not it. I'm not a big fan of the whole cold shoulder thing that's really popular right now with dresses and tops, but I thought that this might be a way to at least give it a try and see, I don't know, just see what the fuss is about. And unfortunately, this is just not, yeah. I decided to go ahead and try sizing down a couple of sizes on this dress just to see if changing the fit of it might help my impression with it, but this definitely makes me feel like a 7-year-old playing dress up in my mom's closet. The color is a little surprising to me. I was expecting it to be a little bit more nude as the picture indicates, but this is definitely got more of like an orange undertone. I mean, it's still kind of in that nude family, but it's got more color to it than I was actually anticipating, and it's definitely got kind of an orange undertone to it, to my eye at least. Almost a peach color rather than a nude brown essence, if that makes any sense at all. It does have the cold shoulder cutouts, as I mentioned, and there is a keyhole button closure in the back, and of course there's the keyhole in the front. And you can tell it's very loose and drapey. I'll kind of come up so you can see it. I was anticipating this being a little bit more of a silky fabric than it is. It definitely feels kind of similar to some of the more polyester style garments that my mom actually used to wear in the 70s. Which I don't mind. I mean, that doesn't bother me, but it's not what I was expecting. And I do think that I would probably, if I were to actually wear this out, probably need to wear something underneath it. It's not lined, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to have to take a look when I look at the video. But I'm not entirely sure that it's not sheer. It doesn't look sheer up close, but I can't tell if colors are peeking through, so I'll have to take a look at the video and see. In the mirror it's not terribly obvious, but it isn't always in the mirror, so this feels very nightgowny, unfortunately. So it had potential, at least on screen, but it's kind of a disappointment in person.
The Abstract Floral A-Line Dress by Jet in a size 2X.
So I'm a little red in the face in this one because I actually just came in from work and I wore this today. It's actually a little on the warm side right now in California. We're in the low to mid 80s today, and so this dress being black and driving home in the sun and the commute was definitely a little warm, so I'm a little overheated. But in general, I actually really like this dress. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that the pattern on this, zoom in, take a quick look, If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that this is actually the same pattern that was used in the faux wrap dress that I reviewed, I think, a couple of months ago. Again, it's a house brand, so they kind of repurpose fabrics in different styles. So I believe that this is actually the same fabric, and I kind of like the way that they configured it with the blocking on this one. And I like the fact that the neckline is not too low, which is typically a problem that I do run into with a lot of the house brand stuff. It is a little bit on the low cut side. There were a couple of moments in the bathroom mirror at work where I was like, that cleavage is dipping a little bit low for a work environment, but it's actually not too bad. And once I kind of adjusted the shift of the wearing of it, it ended up not being that bad. So I actually really like this dress. It is lined. There is no back zip. It is a pullover, so keep that in mind depending on how things fit you. Considering this is a house brand, which is sometimes hit or miss, this is actually a pretty good dress. Running about $14 right now, so I'm on the fence about whether or not I want to buy it because it is kind of cheap, so that's kind of tempting. But I'm not really sure about longevity on this dress. I don't know how long I would be in favor of this one. So, I don't know. I'm probably going to keep it and wear it once or twice more, and hopefully that'll help me decide. I found that typically if I like something, if I wear it a second time, I'm usually not liking it as much. And that is usually a sign for me as to whether or not it's worth actually buying. But in general, I like it. The length is good for me. The sleeves are good for me. The weight of it is fine. I like the pattern on it. It is a little bit warm for 80-degree weather, so depending on where you live, keep that in mind if you're determining whether or not this is the right one.
The Ciara Cinch Dress in Static Shift Print by Kiona in size 2.
So this one has kind of that faux wrap style that I really do like, where it's gathered on one side and kind of wraps across the torso, which for my personal taste and the way my body is shaped, I find that to be generally pretty flattering. I do like the 3/4 sleeves and the fit of the dress. It feels weighty without necessarily being too heavy, which is good for this time of year as summer is upon us. I do wish it were not black and white. I'd like a little bit more color in my wardrobe during this time of year, but this is kind of just the gamble with Gwynnie Bee sometimes. And since color in clothing is pretty popular right now, since I'm not super picky on what I have in to-do list or my wish list, occasionally I end up getting a bunch of the black and white clothing during this time of year, so that's kind of normal. It is a little bit low cut for me for work, so I will probably need to wear a camisole for it. In general, it doesn't bother me personally, but for my work environment, it's probably a little bit too low. So I am going to need to modify that a little bit. And I do like kind of the general little abstract pattern. It's kind of a wave, kind of a chevron, not really specifically either one of those, but kind of inspired by, which I like. It is a pullover style, so there's no zippers or buttons to fuss with. It will require a little bit of shapewear on my part because it's a little bit clingy to some of the places I'd rather not cling to. In general, pretty happy with this dress. It's not a keeper for me. It's not even something that I would consider keeping, but it'll definitely be good for 1 or 2 wearings. So that's not bad.
The Short Sleeve Abstract Print Sheath by Ellen Tracy in a 20W.
I like this one a lot more than I thought I was going to, actually. The fabric reminds me a little of something almost like tapestry-esque to it. It's a little bit weightier, it's a little bit thicker, but because of the short sleeves and the general design of it, it's not super heavy and it's not super weighty during the summertime. I wouldn't wear it on the hottest day of the year, but it's still something I could definitely wear to work and be pretty comfortable with. There is a back zip to it, although I found it simple enough to just pull overhead. And there is kind of a ruched design along the waistline that overlaps, so it's almost kind of a wrap-esque style along the waistband, but it's built into the dress, so it's not like you have to maneuver anything to get it to look that way. It just comes that way naturally. And I find that it's flattering, but it's also adds some extra support in this area, which is always appreciated, so you don't have to take care of that with undergarments. The sleeves are pretty comfortable. They're short without being too short, so you don't have to worry too much about exposing skin, exposing bra, anything like that. The neckline is a decent length. No, the neckline is a decent depth, so you aren't revealing too much at work, which is a concern for me in a corporate environment. And there is a little kick pleat in the skirt, not too much, but just enough of one. And I really like the coloration in here. It's got some royal blue, it's got some purple, some gray, and obviously the black patterning, which makes this a really colorful dress without being, you know, obnoxiously in your face. So I actually like this dress a lot. I've worn it to work once so far. I'm probably going to wear it once or twice more before I send it back. This isn't something that I'm interested in keeping long term, because if you know, with some of my other GB videos, I've mentioned this before, over time patterns can get boring to me. So even though I really like the colors on this, after a couple of wearings, I'll just get tired of it. I won't want to wear it anymore. So there's no point in me actually buying this kind of dress. But if this is something that would appeal to you, definitely look into trying this one out, because this is a really, really good dress. Good quality, good comfort, good variation. So it's not really necessarily something that you've seen everywhere else and everyone else do. It's got a lot of color and personality to it, but it definitely could work in an office environment. So think about checking it out.
The blue-green crosshatch Chelsea dress by Trist in a 2X.
I really like the mixed coloring on this dress and how the top blends into the skirt and vice versa. It's a different patterning on top and bottom, but they're definitely complementary. There are elements of the navy in the top and elements of the lime green in the bottom, so I really like that. And I like kind of the hash pattern. It's kind of an abstract, but not fully. It does offer a zip on the side if you need a little bit of help getting into it, and there is a 3/4 sleeve. It's pretty comfortable. This particular style, the waistband usually hits me in a weird spot because of the length of my torso. My waist is here and this is hitting me here, so it's like not quite an actual waist and not quite an empire waist. It's kind of somewhere in between, which is weird for the way my body is shaped. It doesn't quite hit in the right spot, so I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to try wearing this to work once and then sending it back. It's definitely not a win for me, so there's no interest in keeping this long term. But I do like the colors enough that I want to kind of give it a shot, maybe just once, to work. The fit of it, especially around the waistband, is really strange though, so I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to make this work. It's giving me a little bit of a pregnant belly, which in some dress styles isn't a big deal for me. I don't really mind it too much, but in this particular one, it's a little weird. I don't know. I might have to play with some shapewear and see if I can get this to work right, but especially with the back fat, the way my body is shaped, this kind of more tight waistband area is definitely causing some issues in the back. So I'm not entirely sure I'm actually going to wear this one in public. I'll have to play with it a little bit. And it's kind of a shame because I do like the colors.
The Drawstring Dress in Black by Isabel and Alice in a 1X.
This is one that I ended up liking a lot more than I thought I was going to, especially after having read some reviews online under this product description. It has pockets, as you can see, which is always nice. It is more of a silky chiffon type of fabric, so it's not quite as light and airy as I might have wanted. It's definitely not a kind of cotton material, which I think would have been a better for this particular style. It feels a little bit more dressy than that, which made it good for the office. It is very gapey in the top, so the one time that I have worn it to the office, I did need to wear a tank top under it, which I actually didn't mind too much. It didn't add too much bulk to it, and it definitely made sure that I was covered. And as an accessory kind of thing, if you are looking to break up a solid black dress with some color, that could certainly be a way to do it, is to do a pop of a color with a camisole underneath. So you could change it up for the season depending on what season you're in and when you're wearing this. It is a pull-over design. It does have a kind of tie belt to cinch in at the waist. And obviously, because of the way that the top is designed, it is intended to be a little bit more of a blouson on the top. So if that's not your style of dress, then this might not be the one for you. The sleeves are almost batwing or kimono in style, so they're not form-fitting. They definitely have some flow and some drape to it. So if you have a concern about, showing skin underneath, be aware of that. I didn't find it to be too much of a problem, but it's something for you to play with if you're considering this style. I liked it. I think I'm actually going to hold on to it for a few more wearings and just kind of see if I continue to like it as I try it with different things. This might be, if the price is right, something to consider holding on to as just kind of a basic black dress that I can play up with different kinds of things. So I like it. I like it quite a bit. And I think that this particular style has a few other colors available. So if the black dress isn't your thing, you might want to actually go check out the product page for this particular brand to see if there are other variations available. I think there was a blue one as well. So if the black isn't your thing, but you kind of like the style, you might want to try one of the other colors. I certainly have them on my list to give them a shot at some point. So
Cold Shoulder Dress in Geoprint by Sandra Darren in 20W.
So if you've seen some of my other videos, you might already know that I'm not really a fan of the whole cold shoulder trend that's really big right now. In general, I find that cold shoulder styles often don't work with the types of bras that I like to wear, and they're not really something that I can usually get by with in an office environment. So I usually kind of steer clear of that particular style. I decided, based off of the neckline on this one and kind of the way things were shaped, to go ahead and give this one a try, because I definitely want to keep myself open-minded regarding different things. And this one, actually, I didn't mind too much. You can see the cold shoulder here, and ignore the little hanger string, but the button in the middle is kind of it's just a little metal bead in the middle that holds the sleeve together. So it's got kind of I guess a more professional or a more feminine detailing that holds the sleeve together, which I appreciate. It feels a little bit more upscale and a little bit more designer. And the area up here is wide enough that it helps to cover the bra that I usually prefer to wear, especially in a work environment. So it's not something that I have to fiddle with. I like the design of the dress itself, the pattern, and the kind of smaller version on that trims the sleeves. I feel like that definitely gives it a more elevated appearance, which, since I am mostly using Gwynnie Bee for work clothing, that's kind of the idea of what I'm looking for. I did wear this to work once, and it was fine for the one-time wearing. I'm not interested in keeping it. I'm probably not going to wear it again, but it was a nice change of pace, a little something different for me. I did wear it with some burgundy tights to kind of break up the black and white, because due to the length of this and the kind of flowy nature of the dress itself, it was starting to feel a little bit nightgown-like, if that makes sense. So I think if you're taller, where it's not as long on you, I think you'll be fine with it. I don't think you'll run into that same impression that I did, but it definitely has a very nightgown feeling to it, to me. It was definitely a pullover, no buttons, no zippers needed. And in general, it was a pretty okay dress. So if you like the cold shoulder design style and you're looking for something that might be a little bit more upscale than kind of some of the more casual dresses, this might be something for you to look into. Had this been a blouse or perhaps a slightly shorter on me, I might consider holding on to this one a little bit longer, because I did end up liking it better than I thought I was going to. Just in the configuration it's in, it's just not for me long term.
Galaxy printed faux wrap dress by Jet in 2X.
So I've had this dress one other time before, a couple of years ago actually, and I ended up actually incorporating it into my Halloween costume. I went as Mrs. Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, and I used this as my costume. I really like the dress. It's really whimsical and cool. I love anything kind of space related, and this definitely fits into that. It looks like you're flying through some nebulas or something going on with that. It is that faux wrap style that this particular brand is known for in Gwynnie Bee land. They do this particular style of dress in a lot of different fabrics. So if you find that this style of dress works for you, you have a lot of choices to go through, a lot of different options. And in general, I do like those faux wrap dresses. So it kind of mimics the style of a wrap dress with the tie on the side and kind of the pullover ruching, but you don't actually have to, you know, undo it all and wrap it around you. So if you like that, you might want to check this out. Now, the one thing that I don't like about this particular style of dress, and it's an issue that I've run into with all of the different fabric ones that they've offered in this particular style, is the neckline. The neckline is a little bit difficult to maneuver. It is very bathrobe-like, and because of that, it does have a tendency to gape open at inappropriate moments. So I always find that I have to wear a camisole underneath it just in case, because I don't want to run into any awkward moments in the office. So definitely, if you're thinking about trying this style and you haven't yet, I would give it a test run around your home in a private environment. Wear it, move around in it, sit in it, stand up in it, bend over in it, to make sure that that's not going to be a problem for you, because you definitely don't want to be surprised or surprise someone else in a public space with showing more than you had intended to. So because of that being an issue for me, this is not a keeper dress for me, and it's too bad, because I really do like the fabric. If this fabric were available in a different style, then I would definitely consider revisiting that plan, because I really like the fabric. I think it's really cool, and I would love to keep a Galaxy dress, because that's just me. 3/4 sleeve, a little bit longer than a 3/4 sleeve, but not quite a full sleeve. And there's no zippers or buttons that you have to deal with, just the side tie that kind of pulls it all together. So think about this one if you like galaxies, if you like spaceships, and if you like wrap dresses. Give it a shot.